Hi. I thought I was recording this whole time. Yeah. I've been recording for I think over half an hour. And I was not recording. I've been talking for over half an hour, and I was not recording. And Anyway, I want to start out by saying I have 7 books on Amazon right now. 6 of them are my pirate books, and the other book is a children's book, and the series is called Adopted. The first book is Coral, and it just tells you how Coral got into the family and a few other things. She introduces you to her brothers, and I think my husband's in there somewhere. And Anyway, it should be easy to be. I mean, it should be easy to read by children, and yeah. Well, then the other ones um, are they're all part of the Rolling Sea series, and the first 3 are part of the beginnings part of the Rolling Sea series. Um, oh no, I just realized something. Anyway, so those are part of the beginning series, and they are Pirate's Daughter, which introduces the captain, and all the drama that she goes through she goes through some, I don't know if you would call it drama or I guess drama. She could, okay, so she grew up with her, best friends, Jake and Hayden, and and Michelle, and then eventually eventually they moved off the ship, or eventually Hayden moved off the ship because um because Morgan's mom was gonna kill herself a cabin boy if they didn't, because because Hayden is the only one that can calm Morgan during a storm. And so they ended up falling asleep on the bed, on Morgan's bed, I think it was. And that's all they were doing was sleeping, you know. But Katie got really angry, and so they moved off the ship. That was when Hayden was 5. So that means Morgan was 4. Well, then later, when Morgan is 7, they move to Ireland because, um, yeah, because it seemed safe at the time. Well, the enemy pirate that wants Morgan to marry his son catches up with them on her birthday and kills her dad. Then, um, that and then they end up moving to Australia for a while, so they're back. Um, so they're back with Jake and his mom Jane. So they lived there for a little while, and then Morgan's mom's Morgan's mom is Katie, and Katie thought she had her head on straight, and she remarries and everything, and they have a little boy, and I named him Christopher because I couldn't think anything else. And I think at the time that I wrote that, my brother was about 4 years old. So, no, I think I wrote that later. But still, anyway, you know, I was thinking of my brother at 4 years old. So that's what her little brother ended up, and that's who her little brother ended up being, was Christopher. And but the problem with that is that um, those same enemy pirates, they were having um, a sword fight with Michelle's dad, James, and his crew because uh, he took over the ship when Katie moved out, and um, the the dad of uh, the enemy pirate that wanted Morgan to marry his son, he gets stabbed. So they had to rush him to the hospital. Well, while they rushed him to the hospital, because this was all going down in California, um, when they're rushing him to the hospital, it ends up that he goes right through the town that Morgan and her mom and stepdad and little brother are living in, and the and the dad and I can't remember what his name was. Oh, he was probably Ben. Now that I think about it, he was probably Ben, and Ben and Christopher, they're playing ball in the front yard, like a dad and son will do. But the ball ended up going out into the street. Christopher went running after it. Ben's trying to stop him, and they both get ran over, and they don't make it. So they end up moving to um, New England, like Connecticut, I think. I don't know if I actually said it was Connecticut or not, but you know, a place in the middle of New England, wherever that would be. Um, and it's got a school that looks more like a prison. It's got the like high walls, and you have to go um you have to like go up the stairs across the short hallway and down the other side um to get out of this school. And on top of that, you have to be like buzzed in and buzzed out. You have to press the button and hope that they're going to let you out. Well, of course, if you go to school there, they're not going to let you out. You live at the school. It's like the school that Ebenezer Scrooge went to. You lived at the school. And if you happen to have family, you got to go home for uh, Christmas and Thanksgiving, and maybe a fun weekend for Easter or whatever. But mostly you lived at the school, or like the Facts of Life school. They lived at the school. So anyway, she goes there for a while. Well, she decides that she doesn't like that school. She's gonna wreak havoc. So um, I don't know. I'm gonna come up with this scenario because I can't remember what actually happened. But say a teacher had a wig, she's gonna dye it blue and hang it from the flagpole, you know, something like that. Anything that she can to show her displeasure at, having to be at that school. And well, what was supposed to happen is her mom's friends were next on the list to take care of her if something went wrong. And they decide that they either don't like kids or they don't like her. I can't remember what I wrote in. But, um, yeah. So because of that, they sent her off to other school. Well, eventually, um, Katie had to be in New England as well, for a different reason. But eventually, Katie goes and she calls up Jake to help them move to New York. And and so Katie rescues her. Well, Morgan's got a boyfriend at that point, so the boyfriend goes with them. Eventually, he's living with them in their apartment, and then eventually, he ends up he ends up somewhere else. I just kind of wrote him out of the story, but anyway, he ends up somewhere else, and she's working for Hayden's Uncle Lance in his bar, even though she's too young to be working there. But she ends up working in the bar, and so that's when all the problems start because to the the captain comes into the bar, and he likes what he sees in Morgan. Well, he likes what he sees in the waitresses too, but he likes Morgan better. So, basically, in his mind, the crew can have the waitresses, but he's gonna have himself a barmaid, as he calls her. So, so he keeps coming in. He keeps asking her to go away with him. Well, one night she normally she gets walked home by uh, bar her bartender coworker Joe, but that night Joe says that if he doesn't get his butt home like right now, he is going to be in big trouble with his wife. So she's like, I can go home on my own. It's okay. And so she goes home, and the lights on for a little while. You can't really see what she's doing. She's probably getting ready for bed, having a meager dinner, like peanut butter and jelly sandwich or something like that. Um, and because it's a small yacht. Anyway, so like peanut butter and jelly sandwich probably, and she should she should be making more than that if she's working at a bar. Like like on Coyote Ugly, she was making like $300 a night in tips, if not more. She's making tons of money in tips. So I was just thinking that Morgan should probably be making more, but should be able to have an actual dinner. But at that point, she doesn't have a big yacht; she has a little yacht. So anyway, um, Oh, that was the other thing. Katie moved to Australia because the enemy pirates found her again, and instead of announcing their presence like enemy pirates are going to do, saying, come with us or else, or whatever, the enemy pirates would have said, they just set up the blow dryer that she was about to use because she's working as a hairdresser. She just They just set up the hair dryer that she was going to use to electrocute her. So okay, they take her to the hospital, and or well, I think somebody called an ambulance. But anyway, that her boss was worried that um, Katie had cancer. So, um, in the grand tradition of her family, she kicked its butt. But her boss was still worried that maybe it was like, it had come back again or something. But she's totally fine, except for being electrocuted. So in the hospital, Katie finally fesses up and says, "I had cancer. I'm sorry. I, I didn't want to." Well, I don't think she said I didn't want to lie to you or anything like that. But anyway, they had a heartfelt moment, and instead of calling her mother like she's been calling her since she was 7 years old, she calls her mom. So anyway, they're supposed to move to Australia, but there's the problem of Katie gave her a motorcycle for her birthday, and she doesn't have enough to ship it to Australia. So she decides to stay on a little longer, and I don't know why I didn't have her stay with Lance, but um, maybe blah, blah, blah. Maybe Lance's kids were still in the house at that point, and they didn't have room. I don't know. I mean, it could just be that, Morgan's an independent person in my head and she'd want to stay on her own. I don't know. But anyway, it's literally just down the street from the harbor where her yacht is, but it's just enough that um, on that night I was telling you about, that on there comes a night when Joe cannot walk her home. He's gonna get in big trouble with his wife if he uh doesn't get home fast. Cause like I want to say it's a mother-in-law thing. Like the mother-in-law was over for dinner and he better get his butt home because they don't always get along. I don't know if that's what I put in, but I know that I definitely put in he's gonna get in trouble if he doesn't get home. So he can't walk her home. So she walks home by herself and she's followed by the captain. And as soon as the light goes out, the captain goes over there and he checked on her. Then he goes home. He's standing under the street light the whole time. But anyway, he waits for the light to go out, and then he goes to his ship, which is just a few slots down. He goes to his ship and grabs his men, and they all go back to the yacht and kidnap her. So I'm gonna let you find out what happens next. Then there's Misfortune, where Poor Hayden. All he wanted to do was go to school in France. I don't know why in France because, he's in Scotland. I'm pretty sure there's a really good college or university, whatever you call it, in Scotland. Um, but I don't know. Um, actually, I think Scotland would be pretty close. Maybe not totally close, but pretty close to. Uh, um, I think it's Cambridge University or Oxford or one of those really good university colleges that you're always hearing about in movies. Um, anyway, I would think that maybe Scotland would be close to there, but he decides he wants to go to France for school. Well, at first, he's having a bit of a hard time because his dad paid for him to be able to go to school, but he's got to pay for the next month and he has no idea how he's going to do it because he doesn't have a job yet. He's got an apartment with three bedrooms, three large bedrooms, well, maybe medium size. But anyway, enough for two beds in each room and two desks and whatever. But but he has no job, so he doesn't know how he's going to pay the next month. So they haven't even gone to school yet. So he goes into this deli and tells the guy he wants a muffin and orange juice or something like that. It wasn't very much. And while he's in there, he finds his friend. Oh, no, 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 no. It was Jake had gone in there and asked for a muffin and orange juice or whatever it was. And Hayden happens to see him through the window and um, they become friends again. Not that they weren't friends before, just, they haven't seen each other in so long that, um, oh no, no, because I think, Hayden might have been recruited to help them move um, to Australia. Yeah, I think Hayden was there to help them move to Australia. 'Cause oh, I totally skipped that part. Okay, so after the hospital, Katie moves to Australia because it's gonna be safer for her, hopefully. So she's living with Jane for a while, and um, Hayden and Jake are recruited to help them move everything, except for Morgan does not want to accept handouts for getting her, as she calls it, her baby, her motorcycle, um, getting her baby to Australia. So if she just would have accepted the help, there wouldn't have been a problem. But she does get kidnapped by the captain, and some bad stuff happens to her after that, and then she gets sold to Shatanas. We don't talk about Shatanas on this stream, but we could talk about it on GTA if we wanted to. Um, but I try not to talk about Shatanas um, on that stream either, because I did get in trouble for. I don't know if I got in trouble or if they were just like cleaning house and got the wrong file. But whatever happened, I know that I was doing something interesting on my stream and I was gonna make it adult only when it got over to YouTube, and I did. I totally did. But it was still on Twitch, and uh I did. It's like one of those things where I didn't think anything of it. But anyway, it was still on Twitch, and they're like, oh, heck no. So, yeah, it was something I did on GTA. All that shooting of bad guys, but you can't do that on screen. Really? But anyway, I probably don't want to be known for that anyway. For having that on my uh on my channel. That's not okay. Um, but anyway, so Hayden and Jake and four new friends, Josh, Peter, Mitch, and Jason, all get jobs at the local mill. Well, it was running a certain way to where it wasn't really making money, and every school year they hire new boys to to be the workers at the mill. It's a dad, a son, and a daughter. The the daughter's the one where you walk up to the window and you're trying to get a job. You talk to her first. But at one point, Jason's being overly himself. He's a suave debonair Tom Cruise on his movies, like in Cocktail. um, he's overly confident that he's gonna get the girl, you know, and so he upset. I think I named her Molly. Um, he, he upset Molly by being overly himself, and so her brother trades spots with her and gets everybody all signed up to work for them and everything. And so that works out. They're going to school, they're working at the mill, they've got that nice apartment. Josh and Peter are staying in one room, Mitch and Jason are staying in another room. Although Mitch and Jason don't really have anything. Uh, I mean, except for that they're guys, they don't really have anything in common because Mitch is a mechanic and Jason's really only good at flirting. um, but anyway, so they're doing that, and then all of a sudden he finds Morgan at Shatana's. So they pretty much start dating. Well, actually, at first, he's visiting her. At first, he's just visiting her. And he's talking and trying to get her to be more human because she is very angry about something. Nobody understands except for Ben. Ben's one of her coworkers. But nobody understands except for Ben. And um, well, no, Michelle probably, Michelle understands, but yeah, that's where Michelle ended up too, is Shatana's. So anyway, it it's a very good time, and um, I mean, yeah, where did I get that from? Um, I mean, they are having a good time getting to know each other again and all that, but you know, every once in a while she gets very angry and like at one point she throws him down toward the stairs and his nose was broken, and anyway, they go to the maybe it wasn't broken. I don't remember. Uh, anyway, they end going to the hospital, making sure it's okay and everything, and the doctor was teasing, next time don't fall down the stairs. And Hayden goes, but I fell up the stairs. Anyway, they attend a party together that Shatana's is having, and after the party, Hayden is very happy. He's practically skipping and singing, and very very happy. Um, but he walks down. He has to go to work the next day, otherwise he would have stayed with Morgan. But since he couldn't stay with Morgan, he ends up walking out the door and to the right, and he gets down to the corner and he sees that the other corner is very dark, and there's a limo parked blocking the crosswalk. And I'm just assuming they have crosswalks in France. I think I looked at it and there was, but I don't know. Um anyway, the limo is blocking the side and the crosswalk, and so he just decides to go to the right because his apartment's on the left side of that street. Um but he just goes to the right, and he kind of, he takes a few steps, looks back, and there's some guys getting out of that limo. A few more steps down the street, he sees that they've got guns. A few more steps down the street, they're chasing after him. Well, halfway from there to the next corner, they pin him down to the sidewalk, and he gets thrown in the limo. He starts to yell help. He only gets HEL out, and they knock him out by hitting him with a gun in the face. And as he's passing out, he says, "Pah," you know, so it's help, you know, but um, he didn't say it when he was really conscious. So anyway, then oh, then that's the book I remember the least. Oh my goodness. Um, so I remember parts of it really, really well, but mostly I don't remember it very well. Um, William is governor of New York's son. And I hope the governor of New York is nothing like my governor of New York. He's the fictional governor of New York. um, I hope that the real governor of New York um, is nothing like what I wrote in my story, because the governor of New York in my story, again, I'm hoping it's not like that in real life, is a mafia puppet. Whatever the mafia wants him to do, that's what he does. So, um, at first he was a good, honest governor, but then the mafia got involved, and And William's mom died of cancer, and he just, you know, his dad, his dad is William Senior, uh, William Anthony Pendragon Senior. So I'll be calling him William Senior, and then William is technically William Junior, but he hates being called Junior. He likes being called Will or William. Morgan calls him William because that's how he introduced himself, eh, um, the first time they met. So, anyway, William's 11 years old when his mom passes away, and he met this girl just before it happened, and the girl will not tell him her name. She tells him at some point that if a guy wants to date her, he's going to find out her name. So, okay. The problem is that he doesn't know where, he doesn't know where she's from or anything. So all he knows is that her last name is Duvall. Um, and, like I said, he doesn't know where to look. So he doesn't really do that. And uh, after his mom passed away, turned really bitter and angry and yells at William all the time. Like William did really good on homework assignment. He usually gets C's, and on that one he got an A, and so he was super happy about it. And his dad ends up telling him to shut up, because he was like gushing about it. I still don't know the boy version of the male version of gushing. Um, I know that like if a girl really likes a guy and she's gabbing to a friend about him, that she gushes. She you know tells her friend all about him, and is very happy, and like super excited, and she gushes. So 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 I still don't know what the boy version is. Um, you don't. I wrote. Okay, so I wrote my story a certain way, and I'm female, so it's like so I wrote it the way that I know, and in my story, boys gush about, like say they gushed about their really awesome car, something like that. Um, well, I guess it would be their really awesome truck if it's Sean and Jesse, but you know what I mean. Um, but my husband's like, boys don't gush. And I'm like, well, then how do I write it? He's like, I don't know. He had no ideas. And it's like, well, fine. They're going to gush until we can figure it out. Or I try to I try to rewrite it to where it works. I do want to know who came up with the wardrobe budget for this movie, though. Um, I have the pirate movie playing very, very silently in the background. I love it. I just don't want it on my video just in case. Because knowing me, knowing my luck, it'll be totally copyrighted. I don't know if I need to go and take this and put it all the way over there, or if I need to, uh, I don't know if I need it to go, like, this is the sidewalk. Whoa, how big of a sidewalk did I need? Anyway, this is the sidewalk, and then, it leads over here and stuff. Only problem is that I didn't leave enough room to have a sidewalk. I was thinking about having a tunnel back here, but I didn't put in enough sidewalk to go around all four sides. That's what I was trying to say. Uh, anyway, so William runs away, several times, and one of the times, he thought he was going to have a great life because the guy that he's staying with is a cop, a policeman. He was only, like, the policeman was only like 22, 21, something like that, so a pretty good fit for a new friend. Um, but, but the bad guys, I think the mafia guards came in and unalived all of his new friends because he had well, I don't know if he unalived. Oh no, he couldn't have unalived two of them. No, wait, that can't be. Never mind. I don't know. I think he had unalived all of them. There was two, we'll call them ladies, um, that lived down the way. It's a big old apartment complex in New York. So, um, whatever floor they live on, they could have lived on the seventh floor. They could have lived on the 21st floor. I don't know. I don't think I went into that many details. I just know that they were in an apartment. But anyway, um, these ladies, uh, lived down the hall from the cop, and I don't remember what I named the cop at all whatsoever. But anyway, they all get unalived by the mafia guards, and William gets taken home. And then another day, and I think this is when he ends up at Shatana's. Um, another day, he's supposed to be going to the gym, and he decides he he's been making plans of how to get away from his dad and the mafia guards because the mafia guards, instead of, like instead of spanking him or make him go to his room or something like that, they just punch him or smack him with the gun or something like that, something that really hurts. So William finally gets away and finally goes and ends up at Shatana's. So he gets a job there too. And then eventually Jake's uncle passes away and he gets gifted the ship because he's the only one, not the only one, but he's the next one on the list. There was a list of crew members, and a lot of them are passed away, or Hayden's dad said, "Hey, no, I don't want that thing." And so, it went to Jake. and probably Jane, but Jake's the one that takes custody of it with his friends. Um, he's got he's got five friends: Hayden, Jason, Mitch, and Josh and Peter. And they all go and get the ship and they bring it to France. Well, on the way home from France, the engine just conked out and died. And Mitch is like, you know, angry about this because, um, he's totally angry about this because he is good with all engines and he just cannot figure this one out. Well, later, or maybe in that book, it he explains that it's like an engine that got put in somewhere where it doesn't belong. So, like he's angry about not being able to fix it, but he eventually does. Not the point here, though. But anyway, so William thinks he's doing pretty good, but then all of a sudden he's having a really bad day, and he has bad days a lot because at that point he has bad days a lot because um, because of his dad. He his dad like suddenly doesn't want him anymore, but keeps him around because the mafia tells him to because like he looks more pathetic or something. You know, um, the voters will be more sympathetic if he has his son there and it's like my wife died of cancer and I'm raising my son all alone, you know, that kind of thing. So, um, William Senior doesn't even want William there anymore, but the mafia says he has to, to get the votes. And um and the way the mafia has it set up is William Senior wins every time. And I think you can only have like two terms at being a governor, but like I set it up different because like I said, he's being controlled by the mafia, so oh, high spirits. High spirits is a good one if you like comedy and ghosts. Although some of that stuff is like, what were they thinking? Because it's kind of because it's a comedy, but there's some creepy dang stuff in there. Um. Anyway, so one night, William's out on a date with the girl that he's supposed to be going on a date with, and she's treating him like, like the trophy boyfriend, like on, totally like on the movie Cocktail. Totally like on the movie Cocktail. Um, the it was the rich lady, and she took him to some museum. Like the opening night of the new museum display. I don't know what to call it, so I'll just call it a display. And she like doesn't even say this is my boyfriend Tom, or no, that wasn't his name. Brian. That's what it is. She doesn't even say this is my boyfriend Brian. She just starts talking to her friends, she's being so rude and, can you get me a drink, honey? And, stuff like that. So, but, yeah, so William gets a little devious. He tells the bartender that he's working too, and the the bartender looks at him like, yeah, right, but it's totally true. Um, so his date keeps saying, "Can you get me a drink?" She doesn't say, um, "Can you get me whiskey? Can you get me a highball? Can you get me?" I'm naming stuff that I've heard on movies I do not drink. I swear. Um, can you get me rum? Whatever. She doesn't say the name of the drink, so William at one point specifically says, "Give me the most disgusting drink you have," and because he wants to see if she's going to drink it. Well, she drinks every single thing that he takes her. Um, but while he's there, he sees that girl that he met, and I think they danced one time, and then because she's there on a certain she's there on a date too. But anyway, so then after that, uh, William goes to the bar because at that point, that's what he does when he's trying to drown his sorrows. He goes to the bar. Well, his friends happen to be there having a drinking contest. So he was going to join the drinking contest, but then that girl shows up. And she's having car trouble, so he volunteers Mitch to help the, fix the car so she can go back to the hotel. Well, she does that, but then, like an hour later, she comes back again and invites him to stop drinking and come talk to her. And he decides that's way more important. He's only had 2 drinks. So he, goes. And this time she's got a van. The first one was a rental, and the second one was a rental. So anyway, this time she's got a van, and she's in France with her parents and maybe her brothers. I don't know, but anyway, um, she's in she's supposed to be in France, with her family. So okay. Anyway, they talk, and I think they end up going their separate ways again. But then later, he goes and finds this girl uh, is up in the crow's nest, and her boyfriend is down at the bottom of uh, at the bottom of the mast, yelling up toward her, and he obviously doesn't want to be with her the way he's talking, but he's keeping her because he doesn't want to be single or something, Um, I didn't actually develop it that hard, but, you know, I didn't develop it that much, but, obviously this guy's being a jerk. So William goes over there, punches his lights out, and helps the girl down. It turns out to be the girl of his dreams, and he has found out somewhere in there, partly with Michelle's help, that her name is Cat, or she has told him that her name is Cat, but he has to guess the whole thing. Well, Michelle knows who it is, but William still doesn't. So eventually he does find out that she's Katerina Anna Duval. And so they start dating, and you'll have to read the rest of the book to find out what happens. And then of course, then there comes the three books that I don't know what to tell you. Um, Esperanza's Party is part of the Traitor series, and it's the book where Sean and Ashley decide that they like each other. But if you go by the beginnings books, you're not going to understand who Sean and Ashley are. But I was like, you know, I was gonna go and write all these books and put them together and uh, then come up with Sean and Ashley. But the problem is that I was coming up with way more ideas for Sean and Ashley than I was anybody else. So I started writing the Sean and Ashley books. So if they sound a little disjointed when I'm telling you about them, it's because they've uh they're a work in progress until I think I'm done with them. And so, like, um, so one day I might be thinking, um, Sean and Jesse need to take their girlfriends to the movies, but then go their separate ways. One ends up on the ship, the other one ends up in, uh, out at the lake, and, um, they're both kissing their girlfriend. But, but, maybe I said something about I was supposed to go pick up Brandon and, he never gets picked up kind of thing. Or, or add in that Brandon and his girlfriend are hanging out together. Something. Um, anyway, so they end up going. There's a lot that goes on before that. Uh, Ashley's been trying to get Sean's attention for a very long time, and at the beginning of the story, she doesn't want to go out with the biker guy, but um, the biker guy was pretty much threatening to kill her or punch her or something like that, unalive her in some way if she said no. So she said yes, and she did go on the date with him, but then he wasn't being very nice, like pushing her around and making her open the door for herself, and then he actually knocks her out. He like pushes her so hard that she hits her head on the desk and she's knocked out. So her friend, I can't remember what his name is. Connor. Um, Her friend Connor goes and pulls her behind the desk, so she can't get more hurt. And he was hoping that she'd be awake by the time that his shift ended, but he wasn't. I mean, she wasn't. So, yeah, every once in a while, my brain just kind of goes on autopilot and says he when it's she and she when it's he, and that's not okay. Or left when it's right and right when it's left. Or like on Tuesday, I'll be writing something and it sounds totally fine. Sounds totally perfect. Um, and then I will figure out that, um, like they walked in to the house and I will have written that they went into the hallway and Ashley went into her room, but I will have said that her room was on the left and that Chantel's room was on the right, and that's not the way it is. If you're looking at, if you're faced toward the back door, Ashley's room is on the right and Chantel's room is on the left. And until she gets married, Ashley's room is the first room on the right when you're faced that direction, and there's a big room on the second room on the right is a nice big room, and it's got its own bathroom. So that's the one that Ashley uses quite often for when she takes her shower in the morning. That's the one that Ashley uses quite often. But later in the series, somebody's going to live in that room. Um, sometimes Paige lives in that room, and um, there ended up having to be two rooms just past the dining room when you're still face the same direction. On the left, there ends up being two rooms because one is the room that is for Mick, who is in a wheelchair. Like all medical science says that his legs should be working, but they don't. And before you point that out, uh, before you point out that that could be the problem, it's not like Dopey where he just never tried to talk, so he doesn't. It's, he physically cannot stand up. So, um, so it's really cool when he proposes to his girlfriend, his brothers hold him up. So, you know, he wanted to be able to go down on one knee, and obviously he can't do that, but his brothers hold him up, and he's able to, um, he's able to propose and. Oh yeah, yeah. That's one of the creepy parts of High Spirits is that she's sitting there and she's watching TV. Well, I mean, she's laying on the bed and she's watching TV, and she thinks that she just has jet lag, but they've set it up to where her bed turns around and around and around and around, and I gotta quit looking at that because I will get seasick. So the idea is to. I think my idea right here is to finish up this this gap between the two same level floor, and then we will do some Dreamlight Valley. Hopefully it won't take as long as it did the other yesterday, because all of a sudden I start organizing stuff and that took a lot longer than I wanted it to. Because I'm trying. Ow! I personally think I have arthritis in my fingers. I don't know. My husband's like, "You're not old enough to have arthritis in your fingers." It's like, well, then why do they hurt when I move them? And I am too young for that to be happening, in my opinion. So there's got to be a reason. Or maybe people get arthritis when they're my age in their fingers, and they just kind of ignore it because they're like, I'm too young to have for that to happen. So it's not, you know. Um, so I think a lot of people do. They notice symptoms and they're like, it's not that time in my life for that to happen. So they ignore it and then it gets really bad. So, or like, it's just a cold, and then all of a sudden you're unalived. I still want to know what. Okay, so I still have not gotten to watch the videos for Adam the Woo, and I don't know what happened. And please don't tell me in the comments, because I know somebody knows. But please don't tell me in the comments. But I will watch it eventually. But I'm like, if it's a he was so upset that he unalived himself, I'm gonna be upset. Um, but B, it's like, how do you get that lonely? Because I was just watching a video yesterday from Fresh Baked, and he was saying that he was talking like they were gonna hang out together for something, and then he's not with us anymore, you know. So it's like, how do you get that lonely or that upset and then just, you know. But maybe somebody broke in and was just like, "You're my favorite YouTuber." Yeah, I don't know what happened. I just know that like somebody hadn't heard from him in a while and looked through the window, and um yeah, and this is what they found. But I'm just looking at the thumbnails on um videos that are talking about it, so it could be, it could be all drama filled, like he was so lonely, even though he put up a good front on camera, maybe he was so lonely that, he unalived himself. Or it could be, like I said, a crazed fan, and I've got to let your spirit out so it can, you know, spread joy to others or something like that. I can't think of what they came up with on Pirates of the Caribbean, but I was kind of thinking that um it someone were there in the cages, so I think it was number two. Um, Not Black Pearl. It wasn't Dead Men Tell No Tales either. Um, I can't think of the name. Ugh. And it's the one where she's going, oh, oh, the heat. and she falls over, and they're having that awesome sword fight on the water wheel, and so if I could get Fillmore Wondershare back again before Valentine's Day, that'd be awesome. It's not gonna happen, but it would be awesome. And then I could put, like we could go to the movie theater in GTA and not actually watch it. Uh, I think the one year I went and just had us walk up to the door, and we stayed there for, about a minute and then walked away. I just left myself enough room that I could put, a snippet of movie in there. Um, don't even remember what I put in. But anyway, this year I wanted to put, um, I know you can get in trouble for doing stuff like that, but I just wanted to put that little snippet from The Tourist, um, where he's reading a book on the couch, and then he goes and puts it away, and I think he laid down to sleep, but he can't sleep, so he goes into her room and gives her the best kiss. But then all of a sudden you notice that she's looking in a certain direction, and you hear that the guy is delivering breakfast, and um, you find out that she's gone. But I wanted to like cut it off just before the breakfast food tray noise. I mean, cart noise. That's all I wanted to do. Make a little meme out of it. If I could find one of those AI video programs, I'd probably do that. Like recreate that scene, but in AI people. I don't remember that lady being there. Um, but I would probably do something a little different, like oh, I needed to, yeah, fill this in. Um, anyway, um, I'd probably do something a little different, like instead of him sleeping on the um couch, I'd probably have him sleeping in the other bedroom, and still walking into her room, and they share a wonderful kiss. But I don't think I would have her doing her hair. I think I'd have her like in bed, but then he goes and pulls her to a sitting position, and but I don't know how to do that stuff. Well, more not that I don't know how to do that stuff, but it's like I don't know what program to use. And I think it would be really nice to be able to do that, but I don't know what program to use. So, or if I can even find one that, is free. Because I think my sister can come up with stuff like that, but it's on her phone, and I don't know how to do it on my phone. I need it on my computer. Yeah. Anyway, I would really love to have Fillmore Wondershare back, because then I could go and do stuff like that. I only really, like, I only really need it once a year, and me and my husband go on a date on GTA. Usually we go on a date in real life, but I think we're gonna have to, um, like, I want to go to the movie theater and get a big bucket of popcorn each, and or share one, but I want to do that, and um, then we're gonna end up having to have something at home. I mean, watch something at home. So, speaking of that, though, we just watched. Well, I think I was paying attention more than he was, but we watched Sleeping Beauty, and then I don't remember what movie I put on after that. I know it wasn't Pocahontas. Oh, I think it was The Little Mermaid. But the problem is, I remember seeing all the way up to the part. Um, okay, I saw the part where King Triton blasts all the human stuff with his Triton, but and I remember seeing the, why don't you go tell my father? You're good at that. But I think I fell asleep pretty much right after that. So I don't remember seeing like any of the parts that I wanted to watch. I I like seeing the parts where um Eric's trying to rescue Ariel from Ursula at the end of the movie. In the movie, Eric has kind of a rough life because all he wants to do is get to know Ariel better. And in Dreamlight Valley, he's getting to know all the girls. I really think they need to make it to where if Ariel is in her human form, she eats at the restaurant. If she's not in her human form, she um, eats at the ocean restaurant. There needs there needs to be an ocean restaurant. I don't know how you would do that though. Like I guess you would have to equip your diving helmet and where was I? Um I guess you'd have to equip your diving helmet and do it that way. Okay, so is this the thing that I was trying to take out earlier? Yeah, that what I was trying to take out? I don't know. Dang. Okay. Yeah, that's what I was trying to take out. Okay. So, oh, anyway, and then So in Esperanza's party, Sean knows that he likes Ashley as a best friend, but Ashley's trying to get his attention to be a boyfriend girlfriend thing. And when Ashley walks up, Sean is dancing with a girl who is who is part of a set of twins, and Ashley ends up chasing her off, and um, her and Sean dance for several songs, and then they go and take a walk in the woods. Well, Jesse does that same thing with Chantel, and Chantel does that same thing with Jesse, and they go for a walk in the woods too. Well, later, Ashley ends up getting into a big old fight with the island owner's daughter. But eventually, Sean ends up getting kidnapped by the girl's uncles. Um, they think they're doing a good thing, getting Elena a present. And Sean says, "I'm nobody's present," and he goes and lies and says that he's going out with Ashley. Well, you have to read the book to find out what happens. Do they get him back? Does she find another guy named Sean? You never know. Anyway, then on their way home back to Ireland, because I've noticed that you can have a 2-week trip and it starts here in America, like in New York or something, New York, Florida, whatever, and it's a 2-week, 2-week cruise, but it goes to Ireland or goes to France or whatever, and and the and so I have my crew go from Ireland to New York and back again in one summer. Sometimes they go further than that, and their ship has a motor. It's not traditional wooden pirate ship. But anyway, so they're going back toward Ireland, and they get stuck on a sandbar. If you don't know what that is, that's a raised. It's a. It's kind of like okay, it's kind of like an island, but it's like way too shallow to be an island. But it anyway, it's piled up sand in the ocean that you can definitely get stuck on if you're a ship. So Sean and Jesse decide to go explore that island. They get permission, and they're walking through the forest, and there's a bunch of really big trees. So we'll just say they're all spread out like this. And then there's like a really big tree. We'll call this one the really big tree. And Jesse goes on this side, and Sean goes on this side, and Sean keeps coming out on this side, but Jesse doesn't, because Jesse's standing right here going, haha, he's not going to see me. But, when Sean goes and starts to panic and goes this way, Jesse jumps out and goes, boo! So, So he does that for at least 6 trees, and then all of a sudden it happens one more time, and there's no Jesse, and Sean doesn't know what's going on. He's going, "Come on, Jesse, you just said you want to go back," and you know, all that stuff. And then he goes and takes that one fatal step, and he gets hoisted up upside down by his ankle. And you'll have to read the book to find out what happens. Then, Lessons in Love. Ashley had a boyfriend, and and um, the boy cannot handle Hayden, Ashley's dad, because he's a pirate, and um, Hayden has a thing of no pirates dating his daughters. So he breaks up with Ashley, and she teaches him why not to do that. So then coming eventually, we'll do the one that I'm working on right now first. So so the fourth part um, of the Traitor series is Test in Love. Ashley and her boyfriend are not back together yet on the page that I'm on, but Sean is definitely getting rid of the competition. Adam needs to get back to America because that's where he lives. He lives with his brother in. I didn't actually say that, but basically it's Santa Clara, California, because that's where Great America is. So, it's really close. It's like an hour or two away from Fairfield, California, where the rest of that story takes place. The beginning part of that story takes place. Um, anyway, but I'm using the area very, very fictionally. I'm making up everything. Because I decided that, there's the Great America part, but then they've got more land, and they build what is called the Cabin of Fun, and it's like Shatana's, so we're not talking about that. Um, anyway, it's like Shatana's, so we're not talking about that. So, but that is where Adam is gonna get a job as soon as he gets back, or pretty much as soon as he gets back. If he doesn't have it already. I think he did have it already, but since it's a family emergency, his boss Scott was like, "Yeah, go. We'll hold your job." But like as soon as he gets back, he gets promoted to assistant manager. Or maybe it was later than that, but anyway, he gets promoted to assistant manager at some point. But that's not the point. That's a different story. Um, the part I'm at right now, the airplane that was supposed to take Adam home, one of the engines caught fire, and the one pilot has appendicitis. The other pilot just got back from a overseas trip, so he's too tired to call. He just went home for the night, and so there's like nobody to fly the plane until Sean gets recruited. So Sean and this soldier Ben are flying the plane together, and then Sean needs to get up for a stretch 2 hours later. Well, he ends up getting tied up right outside the cockpit and sat down just out of reach of being able to lean against the wall. So, oh yeah. Anyway, so Sean's sitting there, Ben's flying the plane, and eventually they have to refuel in, I want to say Iceland. I did not actually say whether we are in Iceland or whether we are in Greenland or whether we're maybe in the Netherlands. I don't know where any of those places. I mean, I know where Iceland and Greenland are, but I don't exactly know where the Netherlands are. But anyway, they're they're landing somewhere in the Iceland Greenland area, and and uh, and the people are inviting them to dinner. Well, the only thing is that if Ireland's already had dinner, I'm pretty sure that uh, Greenland and Iceland have too. So maybe I will change that to dessert. But I've already audioed it to where it was dinner. So maybe they're having a late dinner. I don't know. I don't know what possessed me to make it dinner. But anyway, I probably wasn't thinking that they just had dinner at the mansion, you know? Um, anyway, so, um, so the, but specifically the part I'm at right now is, um, they've decided that they're going to drop, um, certain people off. Teresa's getting dropped off in New York, and she's already been dropped off. And then, the next place they're going to, or the next place that they went to is Chicago. And they dropped off. You know what? I don't know who they dropped off in Chicago. Um, oh, probably, no, it wasn't Sandy. Who do we have on our list? Oops. Okay, Teresa gets dropped off in New York. Sandy's getting dropped off in California. Kevin, Michael, and Peter staying. I don't know. Somebody needed to get dropped off in Chicago, and I don't know who it was. Great. I didn't write down their name. Is what I'm saying is I didn't write down their name. They, um, maybe I'm having somebody be dropped off twice. I've done that before. Anyway, so, so you have to buy the book when it comes out because it's coming eventually, and then, and then I will find a even better uh, part in that book to talk about, but I love that part where, you know, Sean is just trying to get rid of the competition, so he decides to fly, he decides to fly the plane, gets permission from William, and it's all good, you know. Well, it's not all good. There's a lot of drama there. Um, oh, yeah, like Peter turned to Adam and asked him where he needed to be dropped off at, and he'd already punched Sean once, and so Adam goes, not nice to hit the pilot, or not nice to hurt the pilot, and Sean goes, yeah, you're lucky to have a hard Pendragon head. some other guys might have gotten a concussion and not been able to fly the plane. So even though they're in competition for Ashley, they're kind of making friends at that point. Which is important because I decided that Adam's going to come back later. Um, anyway, so the fourth book in the beginnings part of the series, though, is Jake's book, and it's called Finding Love. And, like I said, they grew up on the ship together, but Jake had to move out when he was 11 because his dad was no longer going to be there to take care of him, when he visits over the summer. So Michelle hasn't seen him since he was 11 and she was 12 until she ends up having to move to um she ends up having to move to Australia as well, oddly enough, down the street from down the country road kind of thing, from Jake. And that's because of that incident where I don't know if that makes sense actually. I mean, I know that Jake and Michelle are older than Morgan, but I don't know if that actually makes sense. But anyway, that incident that caused um, the enemy pirate to have to go to the hospital in in a really fast car that unalived Morgan's little brother and stepdad. Um, that incident is the one that caused Michelle to have to move to Australia with her mom because her mom got a sword to the heart, but somehow she lived. So they're like hoping beyond hope that, medical science will be able to fix it one of these days. But for now, she's just trying to be, um, try to be, uh, not doing very exciting things, that would make her heart go out. And, she passes out sometimes if the situation's too intense, but, um, Michelle's taking care of her. Michelle's kind of frustrated because she wanted to be on the pirate ship and, she probably had plans that she was gonna, find her boyfriend someday and kidnap him and live on the ship the rest of her life. Well, it doesn't work that way. But Jake's brother, honorary brother, because, it's just, um, the best friend that uh, you're so close with that, it's your brother. And they've been that way ever since, probably ever since they met. Well, her, the brother's Wesley. Uh, no, the brother is Hunter. Sorry. The stepdad, but he's not really the stepdad. They're not married, but at that point they're not married, but Jake's stepdad is Wesley. But anyway, Hunter brings a girl to Jake's 16th birthday party. The girl's 17. Um, so Jake brings this girl to the party, and I just thought of that. I don't know if school, if the school year goes from September to June like it does here in America, in Australia, or if it goes from, like, say, um like October to um uh October to July or something. I don't know. Um because, like, they were having Christmas, um like, they were having Christmas that same day that we were, but they were surfing. I thought that was so cool. I had a pen pal when I was 12, I think, and I might have been 13, but I think I was 12. And she was saying that they went surfing for Christmas. And I really wish that email had been more of a thing, and that, pen palness would have been on, being a pen pal would have been on the email list, because that would have been so cool. We could have talked every day if we wanted to, and it would have been better. But when I was doing it, you actually had to send it through the mail. So, anyway, it was really cool. Oh, yeah, like these evil nuns here. Um, on high spirits. Um there's a preacher, and he gave himself a treat of going on vacation, because he's been such a good boy. And I don't know why, but some preachers or priests, I know God said be fruitful and multiply, which means that He wants us to, um, He wants girls to find a husband, guys to find a wife, and get married, get together, and have kids. That's what He wants, But but for some reason, some uh, I think it's specifically the Catholic priests are like, no, we can't do that. It's against God, or something like that. I don't know what the real reason is, but it's like, God literally said, "Be fruitful and multiply," and you're, like, going against that. So does that mean, like, you're disobeying? Because you don't want to disobey. Um, he has a way of like, telling you why not to disobey him. But anyway, um, not the point. But anyway, in this scene, he's he's watching the girl. There's a girl, and he thinks she's very pretty, and he's watching her, like, do an exercise thing, and he's sitting down in the chair going, God, please help me, because temptation is definitely there. And that's when the evil nuns show up, and like, all of a sudden his lap is doing a thing, and he's like, oh, that's what you're saying, okay. And then they go and throw him in the, it was supposed to be a swimming pool, I think, but it's like all nasty brown water. And then they end up throwing her in the water too. So it's like, are you saying don't be fruitful and multiply? Or are you saying be fruitful and multiply and this is the girl I want you to do it with? I don't know. But, it's Hollywood doing what Hollywood does, so, you never know. But anyway, I like that movie. Um, yeah, so now that I've only got 20 minutes to do what I want to do on Dreamlight Valley, um, okay, oh, um, I wasn't done yet. Okay, so Finding Love, um, Michelle gets brought to the birthday party. He finds out it's Michelle, and and Jake was doing something really nice, coming up with a computer program for the new girl, or I mean a laptop and I think a computer program for the new girl, so she could catch up to where she needs to be, because he knows that she was homeschooled and um anyway, he knows that she was homeschooled and he doesn't know what skill level she has, that she's been getting straight A's this whole time, or has she been getting straight D's, we don't know. But I probably think that she was getting straight A's. But anyway, so they start dating, and one time her dad catches them in their barn, and and he thinks that they were about to do something that they're not supposed to be doing, and they were, but that's not the point here. So he goes and handcuffs him to this spot right next to the big barn doors, and gives him a lecture. Well, eventually uh, he gets free, but then James, Michelle's dad, has to go back to being a pirate. He was just there for a visit, and then he has to go back to being a pirate. Well, something happened, and Michelle's mom, Cheryl, like 2 weeks before she was gonna turn 18, I mean, 2 weeks before Michelle was gonna turn 18, she, Cheryl passes away. Her heart gave out. She passes away. And then Child Protective Services comes and takes her away. Well, Jake doesn't want to have that. He doesn't know where to find her aunt, and like the only thing he knows um, is that he needs to look in France, or was that even the thing? Anyway, he ended up in France to go to school there and look for his girlfriend, Michelle. So, so it turns out that Hayden starts going to Shatana's, and he knows where Jake's girlfriend is, but he can't convince Jake that it's the same girl. Because why would she be there? But anyway, um, you'll have to read the book to find out uh, if it's really her or not, and how Hayden talks him into actually going in there and finding out. So, yeah. There's much more books. There's going to be Caught, where Ashley's boyfriend gets caught by her dad, and um, what happens there, and then Solitary, and uh, I don't remember what the next book is unless it's Summer Journey. Anyway, there's gonna be Summer Journey and Sweet Revenge, and oh, way later there's gonna be Slave. Um, it's much better than it sounds. I think it needs to be well, okay, so part of it needs to be rewritten, and I just don't know where to start. I keep saying that it needs to be rewritten. And I have this idea of, usually if I'm talking about one part of the crew, that, you talk about what the other part of the crew is doing also. So I've got that idea, but I don't really know where to begin. What part to change, what part to well, I know what part to leave out. Never mind. um yeah, I know what part to leave out. Unless I want it to be a romance novel, and then I need more details, um but yeah, there's supposed to be a part in there, in that book, where Mick has dated this girl for a really long time, and her name's Cammy, and he asked her to come on the ship with him. Oh, no, 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 not that part yet. Um, she broke up with him because there's something going on in her life. She didn't know how to deal with it, so she's taking it out on him. And so you'll have to read that book when it comes out, to find out, do they get back together? Do they find somebody else? What is going on with Cammy that she's taking it out on Mick, and why? I don't know if I put in why, but yeah, I actually think I did. Um, you know, details. Yeah. Sometimes I think I write in too many details, but then sometimes I'm like, okay, the details I have right now are not enough to really understand what's going on. So, yeah. Um, what else? Oh, there's betrayal, and um I can't remember the name of the other one, but it's like Scared and Scared Again. Um, but one of those has a different title, but I can't think of what it is. Um, but there's a good reason why it's called that. And then um oh, and the captain. Yeah, that's one that's coming up. The captain. Oh, and then there's ship reigns and ship duties, where it's Ashley's first year to captain the ship. Only she's given the duty of being captain. She doesn't want to be captain. Like, she can go and take over if, like, um if it's like a secret, if it's like a secret mission, you have to try to get Sean back from the bad guys or something like that, and like only Ashley will do. She's fine doing that and leading the group to go and get him back, but she doesn't want to do it all the time. So her husband ends up doing that, and they're all a little worried because something happened to her husband where he goes evil every once in a while. Um, and she's able to get him to stop being evil, but like when she goes evil, he has to really work at getting her to not be evil anymore. Um, but yeah, so because she hit her head when she was like 8 years old or something like that. Um, anyway, so anyway, there's a lot more books to come, and oh, and then there's my other two books. I finished them, but I think they need tweaking. Um, and I'm gonna ask my sister to help me write the other book, and I will totally give her billing on the thing and split the money with her if she can make that. Um, one of my other books needs like more horror and uh less adult weirdness. I'm gonna put it that way, adult weirdness. Um, anyway, oh, it looks like we may not be getting to Dreamlight Valley today. I want to. Well, okay, so I finished a page. I think I finished 2 pages. Um, like after midnight. So I just have to do like 4 more. I would like to do 6 more, but I don't know if I'll get that far. Anyway, what or if I get to the end of the chapter, I'll probably take a break and then go back on there later. Um, because right now I want to cut off the story when Adam is not on the airplane anymore. And there's a good reason for that because the chapter is called Adam's Ride, or Adam's Flight. Adam's Ride was Sean getting him to the airport, and then Adam's Flight was is the part where they're um, trying to get to the places that they're trying to get to in the airplane, so they can drop people off. So Teresa's been dropped off, and Ben's about to get dropped off, and I think somebody got dropped off in Chicago, but I don't know who. Um, anyway, if I've dropped off people in the wrong places, I'm going to be a little upset. But anyway, like Sandy said that I think Sandy was supposed to be a guy because my brother and sister, not the sister that I play with all the time, the other sister, they have an Uncle Sandy. And I don't know why his name is Sandy, because Sandy's usually a girl's name. Like Sandy Duncan, Sandy Olsen from Grease. Usually you'd find a. Oh, well, okay. The dog on Annie, that was Sandy, and that's definitely a boy dog. But anyway, usually, um, you think of it as a girl's name, I think. Um, but anyway, so I made it a girl this time. But, yeah, she was talking that she needed to be, and that she wanted to be dropped off in Texas, but she ends up getting dropped off in California. And we dropped somebody off in Chicago. We were supposed to drop somebody off in Chicago. And I have no idea who that is. Like, it was written in the story and everything, and I don't know. But anyway, whatever happens, I am confused. I'm gonna have to go back a page or two and find out. Um, on high spirits, there's a weirdness because on I want to say Halloween night. On Halloween night, the ghosts can, you know, they feel like they're real. They turn into humans just for the one night. Like live dead humans. I don't know, something like that. Um, and you can, you're supposed to be able to kiss them, but you're not supposed to be able to more than kiss them. And if you do more than kiss them, then uh, something wonderful could happen, but something bad could happen too. So I think they only have part of the movie too. Um, Unless I just haven't like seen that part in a while. Uh, like I didn't realize, but some of the movies on YouTube aren't the whole thing, or at least they don't feel like the whole thing. And then you go and watch the DVD, and it seems like everything was there, but you're like, was it really? Um, yeah, I don't know. I didn't think anything was missing, and then I've been watching certain parts, and I'm like, wait a minute, I know that was in the movie. Like, like, it's Steve Guttenberg is the live human, and Daryl Hannah is the um is the ghost, and um he or she walks through him, and then she uh loses energy. Kind of like on the movie Ghost, where Whoopi Goldberg um was kind of possessed for a moment there by oh, what's his name? Sam. His name was Sam. Sam Wheat. Anyway, she was kind of possessed by him for a moment. Um, anyway, and then she had major energy drain. Yeah, I need to get off of here. So, anyway, if you are watching me on Twitch, please follow and chat. If you're watching me on YouTube right now, please like, share, comment, subscribe, notification bell, and please get those valid public watch hours up. Because I would love to get monetized, and I want to do good things with it. I do want to help out with the household bills, but um, I'd like to be able to, help out people that are less fortunate than us, that need money for food or or a place to stay, or they're in an apartment and it's $2,000 a month and they only make $1,000. I'd like to be able to do good things. I'd like to be able to do Toys for Tots and those angel trees and all sorts of things. but I definitely need to get monetized first. Or get some book sales. I'd rather the book sales because then it feels like you're getting something for something. You know, me making my videos and getting monetized, for some reason that to me just doesn't feel like I gave you enough. Because I love making videos and I love playing video games, so, I was like, why not record it? But it doesn't feel like enough, so I'd like it if people would buy one of my books and, right now it's pretty easy. There's only 7 books to buy. But later, there's going to be a ton of books to buy. Hopefully. Um, yeah. Anyway, well, yeah, and I gotta get off of here because I'm hungry. So, I don't know when I'm gonna end this. Should end it very, very soon. Dang. Well, I was just trying to get this, off the ground. And then I was like, this is taking forever. Well, okay. So we'll get to the end of the row and then I will force myself to stop because I need to go upstairs and figure out, is he still sleeping? Is he messing around with the um, laptop that is slow as molasses in winter and doing the puzzle or what? Because I'm hungry. I want to make breakfast. Um, and my husband, oh, yeah, my husband told a funny yesterday. He's trying to blame it on me that his pants are shrinking. It's like uh, if you quit drinking so much Coca-Cola, I bet you he's the most dehydrated person in Nevada right now. Um, anyway, he doesn't drink tea. He doesn't drink water. He does drink milk, but you need to drink water every once in a while, and he doesn't do that. So anyway, let's get this down to bare bones or whatever. Oh no, we're not gonna get this down to bare bones. We'll just get the this level. Oh yeah, but on high spirits, um, Steve Guttenberg's character and I think the ghost's name is Mary. But Steve Guttenberg's character, he's married, he's got a wife, but she's not very nice to him. Like she looks at him and it's like, oh, it's you, is the look on her face. So, so it turns out that Mary's husband, when they were alive, like on their wedding night, he thought that she was cheating on him and he unalived her. And um, so every night since, he's been unaliving her, as a ghost. So, um, well, we'll just. Oh, Sir Jack! Yeah, his name's Jack. So, anyway, Jack goes and stands in the way one night, and so Mary knows that's the man for him. I mean, for her. Mary's a her. Anyway, Mary knows that's the guy for her, but Jack doesn't know it yet because he's married, and he's saying, "I'm a human, you're a ghost," and trying to make excuses. Um, but um, anyway, so they go and have that extra special kiss, and she turns into a human, but she's been unalived for years, like 300 years. So she turned all gross and icky. But if he goes and kisses her with in a moment of true passion, I mean, true love, she'll be a human. So he does. So he does, and so uh, Mary's husband, he's still a ghost. Mary's husband goes and um, puts some moves on Jack's wife, and he ends up unaliving her. Well, getting her to unalive herself. He was sitting in the sitting in the window, and she went over to give him a hug, and she falls out the window. But then when Jack goes to um, to grieve over her, it turns out that it's Mary instead. So, I think her name's Mary. I don't know why, but it doesn't sound right in calling her Mary because, maybe that's not her name. Anyway, because of Hocus Pocus, one of the, Sanderson sisters is Mary. Um, yeah, so it doesn't seem like I'm gonna end this. I'm going to. Anyway, so it's like happily ever after, for both of them, because the wife decides that she liked what she saw in Mary's husband, and then I don't know why Mary just does not sound right, but I had to turn on the sound to find out, and that means stopping the stream, and yeah, okay, so let's stop the stream. Um, well, I'm gonna take out this tree first. Okay. I will see you in the next stream or video.